welcome everyone to the 8th November 2021 Jackson County Commission meeting. The meeting is now called to order. I'd like to ask Mr. Manning, our county administrator, to please call the roll to establish a quorum.
Mr. Rich?
Present.
Mr. Venable? Present. Mr. Butler? Present. Mr. McBride?
Present. We do have a quorum. At this time, we'd like everyone to stand, and I'd like to ask our county attorney, Mr. Porter, to lead our invocation, and Mr. McBride to lead us in our pledge of allegiance.
Lord God, our Father in heaven, we look around us each and every day, but this day especially we look around and see beautiful sunshine, beautiful fall weather, and we're thankful for that. We're thankful for all the blessings you give us as a community and individually. We know we don't deserve them, but we're very thankful for them. We pray you'll continue to be with us and guide us. Be with these men as they consider the matters that are important to this county. Give them wisdom and discretion and compassion in making those decisions. We're thankful for the men and women who dedicate their service to the people of this county and people of this nation. Thank you for our public servants. God, we pray you watch over us all and guide us. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, before you is the agenda that we have for the meeting, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this agenda with two changes. Number one, today we had some individuals come to us and request that we consider a proclamation declaring November the 16th, 2021 as Retired Teachers Day in Jackson County. And propose to add that in our discussion session as item D. Also, item G in our meeting new business section, given the absence of our county revenue commissioner, would like to defer that item G, to our 22 November work session for discussion and vote on that item. So if I could get a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of item D in the work session and the deferral of item G in the new business
I'll
section.
make a motion that we accept that with as amended.
Have a motion?
I'll second that.
Have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Are there any awards and presentations or presentations? Okay. At this time, we'd like to invite Mr. Danny Johnson to speak. Sir, we have a podium for you and a microphone. If and as you get there, I'll ask you a couple of questions. Mr. Johnson, could you please state your name?
My name is Danny Carl Johnson.
And you would like to speak about?
The Danny Kendrick Johnson Foundation.
And you are representing yourself and the foundation?
Yes, I am, sir.
Sir, thank you very much. At this time, you have 5 minutes.
First of all, I'd like to say thanks for this opportunity. And thanks to all you guys as well. March 24, 2016, one of my twin sons lost his life here in Jackson County. When that happened, we didn't know who, what, when, where, how, did not know what to do. Well, we were grieving, still grieving today. But with that being said, after time passed, the Lord began to speak to us as a family. I'm retired from the federal government. My wife is still working for the federal government as an engineer. My daughter's an attorney in Georgia. Danny, my son here, Mike, my son that I'm going to talk about, wanted to be a doctor, but that didn't happen. His twin brother, Devon, went to the NFL for a little while. From there, he's now working at the surgery and hospital. My baby son is also an engineer. They used to call me the janitor, because I did everything. So with that being said, I wanted to talk about two things. I'm asking this commission for a resolution for the Danny Kendrick Johnson Foundation. I have copies of other resolutions that we already have from practically all over the state. I've been coaching for 30 years in the state of Alabama. I coached at Alabama, well, that was a summer camp for about 10 years. And I used to work for a mayor in Birmingham, Mayor Harrison, years ago. And like I said, I just retired from Redstone in 2012. That being said, we started a foundation, and in this foundation, we have 3 programs. The first program is Parents Against Drunk Drivers. That being said, our foundation is now partnering with MAD out of Irving, Texas. That's the national organization. I got a phone call about 3 months ago, asked me to sit on the regional board. That would be the state of Alabama and the state of Georgia as a board member of the region for mothers against drunk drivers. Our second program is education scholarship. With those programs, what we do is provide scholarships for student athletes from Mobile to Huntsville, roughly 67 counties. So we give away a lot of money. This foundation does. Most of the money we raise, 97% of all we raise and all we do is basically give it away. And our last program is the Senior Scout Bowl. This is for student athletes without scholarships that has exhausted their high school eligibility and have a chance to play in an Senior Scout Bowl in Huntsville, Alabama. It'll be on Education Television, ESPN 97.7. We even had ESPN out of Bristol, Connecticut call us. They might be picking it up. So what it does for these student athletes, it gives them an opportunity to play. You don't even have to start on your high school team. That being said, all you do is donate money to this foundation, and those donations basically fund our 3 programs. I said that in regard, when we lost Danny, I didn't know what to do. Never. When I would read the Bible, the news, stuff like that, but when that happened, here come a book. I wish I knew. The last chapter in the book is entitled Now We Know. That's my first book. Here's my second book, 12 Arrows at Flight. Those arrows represent the lifespan of a man. The destination of the arrow is based on the life he lived according to the Word of God. And that being said, we were able to have Senate Bill 258. Some of you all might have heard, might have seen it on TV, might have seen me on television. I've been on TV for a little while, for about the last 30 years. But we had a Senate Bill introduced, Senate Bill 258, and what it does, I'll kind of break it down. It gives law enforcement the capacity to swab and or take your blood without a person's consent once they're under arrest to determine if they have drug in their system. As I begin to speak on the floor of the Alabama State Senate twice and on the House, we're going to Senate, Alabama State Senate, 29-0, we're going to House, 99-0. That being said, this is Danny's Law. It's just the front of it. I'll let you guys see too. Because it just affected a kid out in California, Henry Ruggs. The NFL guy, same thing we talking about. When you get in that car and you drugs and alcohol, what you do is weaponize that vehicle. And that's exactly what happened. I wish he'd have just thought twice. But this is Danny's Law. This is the front page. And that's what it talks about. Signed by the governor. Not only did she sign it, she became a member of our foundation. I had a chance to speak at her office. She became an honorary member of the foundation. Like I said, if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. I promise you. I heard so many no's. No don't mean nothing to me now, but other than keep going. It's just like pouring gas on fire with me. With that being said, here's the Senior Scout Bowl for student athletes without a scholarship. We've contacted over 300 colleges, state colleges, and prep schools, and JUCOs throughout the country. And we will be having this game. It's going to have about 1,700 kids in Huntsville, Alabama. And those games will start in April. While I'm talking, here's an invitation for you guys, for the board. Now, if you want to see the governor, she'll be there. At least that's what she told me. And that's what she supported. The same invitation he has, she got. So we've done a lot of homework. Since this has happened, our goal in this foundation is to touch 49 other states, asking those states to adopt Danny's Law, and or if they got something like it, that they can maybe team with us. So far, we've got Danny's Law passed in June the 17th. We picked up Atlanta, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana. And I won't quit until I close my eyes. That's a fact. When that happened to Danny, it took something out of me. But God put a can't quit spirit in me, and I can't quit. And I won't quit because I did it right. Raising my 4 kids at the time, we only had 2 rules in the house. The first one when they were young is do what I tell you. If you do it right, you won't get whipped. If you tell me, I would. When they got a little older, I kind of changed it. I said, don't do or say something to somebody that you cannot say, I'm sorry for, and walk away. And that was a good rule because they followed it. I'm 60 years old. I have never smoked a cigarette. I've never drank a beer. I've never used any alcohol. And I grew up in front of a crack house, down the street from a liquor house, up the street from the beer house, all on one street. And on that one street, 4 NFL guys came out of it. I went, but I got cut. I tried out. But it was because of the life I chose to live, and the life I wanted to bring my kids up with. And after all of this happened, this is how the foundation came about. It's by following the Lord as He began to tell me what to do, because I didn't know what to do. I'd get in my truck and just ride around and pray for a long some time, crying. But the Lord began to move, and next thing you know, things began to happen. Even, let's say, Speaker of the House, Matt McCutcheon. I didn't know I lived three blocks from him. Next thing you know, me and Matt working together. Not only that, Matt going to be consulting with this foundation. I will be meeting with Senator Tuberville about some things, because I cannot quit. There's a lot of things that I'm not saying that's kind of in the works of what we're doing. But with Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, we will have an office here, not here, but in Huntsville that will help every county from Huntsville all the way down, including Jefferson County. We had Senator Orr call me the other night. He tried to get in touch with somebody from down in Montgomery about Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. Didn't have any success. We're part of it, our foundation here, so we were able to help him drive down to the area and help him with what he needs. But our goal is, I kind of got it at the architect right now. We're building a building. We're building a place for a man office, and we're going to have about 50 people staffed in. All different races, because guess what? When people drink, it don't matter what color you are. Don't matter what race you are. Don't matter how old you are. We know that with Danny. We know that with Mr. Henry Ruggs. I hate that happening. But we're asking that if this commission, foundation, this commission can do a resolution. And also, we would like to ask you guys to help us financially. If you need to see our taxes, we got a good CPA firm right beside the county courthouse in Huntsville, Alabama. And if you need records, we have everything that we need for this foundation to function as a legal foundation. And we're going to do it right. There's no way I would shame Danny, shame this foundation, nor shame my family. Thank you so much for this time. I know it's kind of quick. I wish I could really tell the story.
I will say that you exceeded your 5 minutes, but we wanted to hear what you had to say. It was important. And thanks for your dedication to this. Let me open the floor, if I could, for questions from our commissioners.
Please.
I don't have a question, but I want to commend you for turning an absolute negative into a positive for other folks. I mean, you're planting trees, what you're doing. So,
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm proud of you for dealing with your grief that way.
I also commend you on what you're doing. I think it's an awesome thing. Yeah.
I mean, you see it every day. I mean, just like last week, with Henry. Everybody's got a responsibility. They've got a choice. Sometimes, they don't make the best choices. And I think this organization is needed because there's people that need help.
That's like to echo what others said. I appreciate the work you're doing. It's important. We appreciate it.
So, sir, in our process, if you would leave us with your recommended resolution, we will put that on our work agenda for our next session for consideration and let you know.
I have a copy.
Okay, sir. Really appreciate that.
One from the city of Birmingham.
Okay. So thank you very much, and we will put it on our next work session,
Absolutely.
sir.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please consider coming.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry.
Calendar. Please consider coming.
Oh, we will, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. God bless. Take care, everybody.
Appreciate you, man.
My name's Dan. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Well, thanks very much for that. This time we will move into the meeting portion of our agenda. We have several items on the agenda today that we discussed in our last work session. But first, in your packet with minutes from the October the 12th commission meeting and the October 22nd, 2021 special work session. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the October 12th, 2021 meeting and the October 22nd, 2021 special work session?
I'll make that motion that we approve the minutes from October 12th, 21 and October the 22nd, 2021, special work session meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a second or a vote. Please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next in your packet is we have had several discussions about our Liberty Learning Civics program and a presentation by members of that staff at our last meeting. We also discussed that. That motion is in your packet with a recommendation to support Liberty Learning with a donation of $2,500. Do I have a motion to approve support and donation to Liberty Learning Civic Program?
I make a motion that we approve support donation to Liberty Learning Civic Program.
Have a motion, a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Also, in our last work session, we discussed the work that has been done to provide an assessment of the improvements that would need to be done or repairs that would need to be done to the Liberty Lane building. We have an invoice for that work in your packet for a total of $750. Do I have a motion to approve paying the cost for the assessment of Liberty Learning building repairs and improvements?
I'll make that motion.
We have a
I'll
motion,
second it.
second. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. In our last work session, we had a discussion about park director use of the county truck, the park truck, for use to drive the county truck home. Do I have a motion to approve the park director's drive county truck home?
I'll make the motion. That will be with the however many dollars per day, just like everybody else, right? I just want to be clear that we're not, for the camera's sake, the record's sake, that we're not just allowing this for this one individual. That anybody that drives a vehicle home, they're assessed, what is it, $3 a day? $5, $3 a day? $3 a day. I'll make that motion.
I'll
Okay.
second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Also, in several meetings back, we had discussion and a briefing discussion on the Tennessee River line and the benefits to Jackson County and the request that it be Jackson County be considered as a county participant in the Tennessee River line activity. In your packet is a resolution that has been requested stating Jackson County as well as all of the Tennessee, the Jackson County, Tennessee River cities of participation in the Tennessee River line, as well as an agreement. In this agreement, you will note that there are three phases to this participation in Tennessee River line activity. And in those phases, the first is Celebrate, that's a 2-year phase. With that is a total cost for all participants of $750. Our share of that cost will be $150 per year to participate. As you then close out the first two-year period, you then graduate to the second stage, which is Connect, and then after that you graduate to the third stage catalyzed, after which you get to be designated as river towns, and the county would be designated as river county. So do I have a motion to approve and signing of the proclamation and the agreement for our participation in Tennessee Riverline?
I'll make the motion to approve and sign the proclamation of agreement of Tennessee Riverline.
Do I have a second?
One second.
All in favor say aye. Motion carries.
And Jackson County is the first county, am I not?
It is the second county.
Second
It is
county.
the only county thus far in Alabama, but the second county
Okay.
between that whole stretch from Knoxville, Tennessee to Paducah, Kentucky. So, also in your packet is a recommendation regarding the hiring committee's recommendation for the park maintenance employee at Jackson County Park. Do I have a motion to approve hiring committee's recommendation for park maintenance employee at Jackson County Park?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. As we said earlier, item G, we will defer to the 22 November work session. In your, not in your packet, but recommendation, we have a motion to approve adding November the 24th, 2021 as an extra holiday, Jackson County holiday for Thanksgiving. Last year was a tough year for the employees of this county as we worked through the pandemic. And many of the holidays we were not able as families or communities to celebrate them as the way we have celebrated them in the past because of the conditions that we were living through with the COVID pandemic. I would certainly recommend that we consider this motion for approval of allowing November the 24th, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving Day, this year to be considered an extra holiday for Jackson County for Thanksgiving.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
Uh,
Motion carries. With that, we'll move into our work session. We have several items that we are to discuss today. First, item A, Revenue Commission, temporary employee for mapping and appraisal office. And we do have a letter in your packet for us to consider from the Revenue Commissioner requesting that Jackson County Commission can vote to approve the hiring of a temporary employee for mapping and appraisal office. Discussion, please. Any questions? Any questions? Then I would recommend that we add this to the new business agenda for next week. Okay. A couple of months back, the commission approved establishing a committee to look at the efficient use of county buildings. The committee has been working for now about 2.5 months. And I would like to turn the floor over to Commissioner Butler and Commissioner McBride for discussion, please, and a report of status.
All right, so we were tasked with a couple things, actually 6 items, to assess the options to consolidate departments into fewer buildings and their impacts, access required building design changes and modifications, assess project cost of options, assess options for disposition of any vacated buildings, assess positive and negative implications of the downtown Scottsboro, and to assess the positive and negative recommendations of the citizens to Jackson County. And so it's a very broad scope of what we did. And so the committee was myself, Commissioner McBride. We had Judge Graham and Judge Benson on this. Mayor McCamey from Scottsboro came in. Victor Manning was very instrumental. Jeff Arnold was part of that, and Mike Sims and Don Sands were there, and of course we have a recent addition here, and so we've had a good discussion on this. We've interviewed a lot of people. We've analyzed this situation in many ways. Of course, we included various and sundry departments, county and Scottsboro, and so we wanted to make sure that we were looking at this from Chamber of Commerce perspective and economic development perspective, and of course safety. And so we were tasked to do this on August the 2nd, and we had 60 days to do it. And so here's our report out. So as far as doing the options to consolidate buildings, we reviewed the juvenile court building, which is located across the street from here, the property we have at Liberty Lane, and the county extension buildings. In doing those three buildings, we looked at the following: what is the current usage, who currently is there, what are the needed repairs, what are the possible alternative usages, and what are the future needs of the building. As far as what was required for the building design and changes, we looked at determining the needed repairs, and thus we felt compelled to have an expert come in and give us a list of what exactly was needed, and that's what we approved earlier. Determine needed adjustments for better uses of the building, and employ a general contractor to determine approximate costs. Of course, what were our options? Can we consolidate buildings? Can we abandon buildings to be sold? What is the cost to consolidate the buildings, renovate, and what funds are available were our cost options. As far as the vacated buildings, if we have any, can they be sold, and what would the estimated return on that be? Through the positive and negative implementations to downtown, we interviewed business owners on the impact of the courthouse square and businesses, and also the impacts on traffic and parking, and what changes are possible as a result of what we're proposing. Of course, the positive and negative implementations of the citizens of Jackson County, the safety of all the buildings, the access for elderly and handicapped citizens, parking, ease of access for all, and the joining of like services. We felt that was important to bring like services together. So, are you ready for recommendations?
Yes.
All right, so here we go. So recommendations are to remodel the property at Liberty Lane. That's one of the best assets we have, and we feel like we can bring a lot of things under that roof. And so in particular, we'd like to move the revenue department, tags, property tax, mapping and appraisal, all to Liberty Lane. Move the probate office except for the physical records and a single employee, but everything else from the probate office would go over there, so the probate would maintain a presence in the courthouse as well. Move the county extension office from their current building to Liberty Lane. Move community action out of the extension office to Liberty Lane, and move the game wardens to the courthouse. We would also like to move the driver's license office from the basement of the courthouse to Liberty Lane, and bring in juvenile court and its offices to the courthouse with the space that's created. We'll need to reconfigure the courthouse basement and first floor, and that will allow us to sell the juvenile court building and sell the county extension building. That's our recommendations.
Okay, questions or discussion?
In interviewing the businesses and the community,
Okay.
could you give us the feedback on that?
Yeah. Businesses along the square were excited about the prospect of having regular and predictable parking. They felt like their businesses were negatively impacted by customers not being able to find parking, and thus they would have greater access, and that was for lawyers and retail shops and food vendors alike. They felt like that they could have a more predictable parking situation, which would help them. One of the big things in interviewing folks was talking about the safety of access in the building. Liberty Lane has an excellent flat parking lot with lots of good level handicap parking spots, which is not something that we enjoy here at the courthouse. And plus, the handicap parking is within steps of the door, and so not only are they parking in a better spot and easily accessible, but they're able to quickly get out of whatever weather situation, because that's not the case now.
Has anybody done a traffic study over there of the safety getting in and out of the place?
No, and that's
Coming out of cattle stampede, that's horrible there. And the senior citizens will, we need to do something about that,
Yeah,
I would say.
That's correct, and we talked to Mayor McCamey about some possible options for that, and so but we will need to employ AlDOT into looking at some ways of improving getting in and out of that area. That's a good one, but we haven't done that study yet. No, sir. No.
Can you give us some idea of the modifications that would be required with the Liberty Lane facility to accommodate those that you're going to recommend putting in that facility?
Yeah, for the most part, there'll be very little that will need to be done because most offices that are going in over there are just needing office space. The biggest adjustment will be the creation of an open lobby in the center of the building that, if you could just imagine a large hotel lobby or bank lobby where you have kind of an open area, but the tellers will be behind security glass and be separated from the public. And of course that's going to ease the finding of the place. They're not going up and down halls trying to find the right office. And so you're going to come in. We've even talked about having an electronic kiosk there to allow you to select, okay, this is the services I want. What window do I get to go to? And then it'll notify you that way. And also from the workers' perspective, they're truly protected from anything that we're dealing with now with the lingering effects of COVID and any future effects. And so the security of our workers should be increased, and the security and the safety of the people that come visit us should be increased. And so that's going to be one of the biggest modifications is turning that lobby as you go into a more open area. And so that'll consume a lot of the reconfiguring cost. In the planning of it, we were looking at records housing and things of that nature that would have caused a lot of modifications, particularly on the back of the building. But with allowing probate to keep their records here in the courthouse, we avoided a lot of cost and a lot of remodeling that would have had to happen that way.
Okay, comment?
Would they be any need of having security over there also? Any discussion on that?
Victor, you want to speak to that?
We don't believe so. We believe with it being a main lobby, nobody has access to any other point. To get into the doors to go past, we would use something similar to what you have here with the pass keys or something. So essentially the way that we looked at it, as far as from our perspective, nobody would have any access any further than the lobby anyway. And I guess to go a little further with the way we looked at it, it wouldn't be wall, but it would be another pass key type thing from the extension office over to us, so they wouldn't have to come in through our lobby. The extension office could use one of those front doors for their folks to come in. And I don't think they have a ton. I know they don't have near as many people that we have right now. Matt, what do you think y'all have today? Maybe less than 20 to 30? Yeah, roughly. Yeah. So that's not a problem with them accessing the extension office. But as far as us with security, we don't see that. If that's okay with y'all, I mean, that's y'all's decision, but we don't see anything for it right now.
As far as the first floor the people that visit the courthouse, how many people come in the courthouse?
I can tell you that, some of my guys went back and checked. We took 3 random months and we averaged about 400 people, 400 customers a day in my office, just in my office. That's all throughout the day. Jeff probably, y'all about the same, Travis, give or take? Depending on, we're just talking average.
What month it is.
We're just talking average.
We're probably 600 to 700. Sometimes more.
Per day.
sometimes less. Yeah.
So,
Well, counting tags and real estate. Tax time here in real estate is a lot more.
so to go back with your traffic thing, we have that many people, that's not individuals. A lot of people come together, you might have 2 people that bring deeds or whatever, you might have people that make multiple trips.
Right.
Okay, so,
So we're talking north of 800 people a day on average
Yeah.
that come in to do
Yeah.
business at one or the other.
And that's not inclusive of court traffic?
has nothing to do, that's just,
What I was concerned and what concerns me is unintended consequences, You got 800 people a day come into the courthouse. I know that ties up all the parking spaces and it's hard on traffic and everything, but it's also foot traffic. I mean, those folks, but you said
I
that
think-
the shop owners and stuff weren't
I think
concerned
if you
about.
go back, I think if you go and look, if you come drop $300 to buy tags, you probably not want to do a lot of shopping. Folks that come to see us, most of the people that come in my office are in a hurry to get somewhere. They don't want to anyway, but they're in a hurry to get somewhere. So, I don't know, and I know that the mayor was here. He had done some, communicating with some folks, I believe AJ has. So, yeah, to answer your question, there's probably gonna be a little bit, but at the end of the day, how do you, if you have less than 10% of those 800 people that are shopping, who are you trying to serve?
Well, if I'm shopping, I'm speaking as a shopper here, and I don't have to have something on the square, but I need it. And I circle the square about 4 or 5 times, and it's raining. And let's say I need something over here, say Hammers. I'm not going to Hammers that day. And then, that's business that I'm not providing for that store, and that's just an example.
I'm not real versed in that whole conversation, but I honestly think that you'll see the adverse. I think once you have parking places where people can park and do things.
Does that parking lot be big enough over there to accommodate?
We believe so. How many parking places was it?
125,
Do what now?
125.
125.
And how many of them, they got the backside for the employees to park, or?
That's 125 out front. We could take the road right against the road. The employees could park there. So you're talking over 100 parking places. So if you're having in an 8-hour day, if you have hypothetically, if you have 800 people over an 8-hour day, and you're having roughly 100 an hour. So that should be okay. There is room. We've looked at that. There is room if additional parking spots need to be made for employees back out of the way. I mean, there's absolutely room on each side of that building to do that.
We do like Chick-fil-A and have that drive-up service
So we
too.
do drive service, absolutely.
And the
They just
safety,
go around the building 3 times.
Mhm.
and the safety aspects of this whole thing, you got 2 folks sitting out here and they're running 800 people through a metal detector a day because of concerns for upstairs. We're not going to be dealing with that aspect of it. I mean,
I'm not advocating either way. I can say we're fine. I'm fine staying here. I'm fine going over there. I think the benefits, and I agree that there's absolutely going to be some unintended consequences you find out. But I think the good part outweighs the bad.
How would, well, you're leaving one employee
So-
here, if somebody comes in,
No.
to get a tag, to get a,
The reason that I'm leaving somebody here is because of the work we do with the attorneys with deeds, recording deeds, abstractors, title researchers, and we will, I foresee, I'm not promising, but I foresee us being able to let the attorneys file their stuff here. So we're not gonna be renewing driver's license here and
Right.
selling motor stickers and all that stuff.
Okay.
It's basically the court part, if you will, and abstractors and title researchers. I believe
Yep.
I think that would be the best way to do. We're gonna be here, we're gonna have our records here, most of the research that's done on that is from abstractors and attorneys, and a lot of it, abstractors work for the attorneys, so they're still able to come here, they can still record these. We don't really want to have two places doing the same thing. We don't want to send the attorneys out there to record these, but on the same hand, we don't want to have people come back and do that. So we'll have one person here just for that reason.
All right, Rocky, you have to say.
Yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, there's way more than 800 people come through that door a day, obviously. It's probably 12 to 1,400 at least each day. Number two, I don't know, did y'all talk to the sheriff about his concern too? Because I agree with you, people probably won't go shopping if they're going to buy their tags and everything else. But when they come in here to do their tags, pay the property taxes, they do come by pistol permits. And his concern is that we'll probably need to put somebody at that new office to sell.
We did have that discussion, and so
I told Chuck that we can find him for y'all to put somebody else.
that's not going to be a problem. But one of the primary concerns that we had going into this was, how do we ever secure this building? And with so many people in and out that are not here for security reasons, that it made it hard to secure the building the way we want to. And so this building will function more as a hub for the sheriff, center for the county commission, but purely for the court in general. And so I think we can have a courthouse that will function as a courthouse instead of as a place of business.
I guess the other thing that we did discuss, you forget what all we talked about that everybody knows. And I think the agreement was that as far as my court, we're still going to do that in this court. We're not going to have court over there. So my hearings will still be here. So that I think that was one of the things Judge Graham mentioned, that he would prefer to continue. So that was another reason for me to still have a place over here. If I'm going to still have hearings over here, then I'll have that too.
And the safety aspect of the juvenile court was something that was very, very, very much a concern for us, that we would like to get them inside this courthouse where they can be more secure. Their employees can be more secure. And because, I mean, for me looking at it, that's the court that's going to cause the contention, is custody issues and kids being sent off. I mean, I can see where that's going to raise some blood pressure a little bit. Would you agree with that, Judge Ward?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Let me ask,
Terminating parental rights is
Right.
probably the worst thing I did.
It made me pretty mad.
Hurts feelings.
but let me, I know you've started to look at considerations for adjustments to the courthouse in terms of activities in the courthouse and any modifications. I know you're not in the final, I don't think you're in the final position there.
No, that's
But
definitely a phase two.
any comment regarding what you need to do to get to that
No,
position?
as far as bringing the courthouse into, we want to do the same thing. We want to bring experts in to look at what can be done, what should be done to maximize space, and because if we could create another courtroom, that would ease traffic in the courtrooms. We need waiting areas for jury selection and for large gatherings that do come in eventually. And so those things need to be taken into consideration as well. And again, there's still going to be some ebb and flow that happens in here. And so what can stay and what can go. But I know something just like with driver's license, I mean, that's going to be exponentially better if we can get them out of the courthouse and get them somewhere where they can truly have easy access. And so I think there's some potential hurdles that we've still got to cross, but it's going to be much easier. And something that seriously concerned me when we started looking at having to close the courthouse down for a cross exposure between departments. I mean, if we have multiple buildings that are serving the county's need, because right now if we had to close the courthouse down, we're closing down probate and revenue, and that creates all kinds of problems. And so I think it'll make us more sustainable as an operating body as well.
So phase one of this would be to remodel Liberty Lane property and make it fit the needs that were listed. We have a cost analysis for that and operations and maintenance of that additional property.
Well, actually, the operation and maintenance will be reduced because it's a newer building, and so your heating and electric that's caused in those areas now will be diminished here because we'll have less usage here, but over there, but the cost of the renovations should be somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 to 700,000, which I know that's a lot of money, but a lot of this hopefully can be brought under ARPA because of what we're doing for this COVID prevention by spreading our folks out, by securing the areas, by making it improved HVAC and the things that we're going to be able to offer there that of course we'll also need to offer those things here, but these are things that shouldn't be general budget concerns, and we'll have two buildings that will be able to sell, with the county extension office on 72 being the most valuable.
So we had a look at the some recommended modifications. Is there a need to go back and take a little more detailed look at that to get an agreement on what specific modifications you think would have to be made to the building?
Yeah, absolutely. The general contractor did an outstanding job of everything that could possibly be done, and there was things such as painting that Victor and I talked about. That's something that we could probably take care of internally. The suggestions they had for flooring, that they're cheaper alternatives to that. But in the roof work that needs to be done, that was something that we're going to have to do that regardless of what we do with the building. So, but we definitely need to look as a body at the list of, these are the things that we want in this building, and these are the things that we don't. We have a pretty comprehensive list.
I would also recommend that if Scottsboro City Power Board, Water Board would share with you some average annual costs of, what it costs to keep the power and the gas and the water and the sewage fees for that building, because there's going to be an increase to the county's general fund.
Should be an increase, but there should be a decrease if you close those other buildings down. They get kind of wash out. Once everything's done, if you shut down DHR, you shut down extension.
Well, it might be, but we need to look at all that and weigh it, because,
Shut down
we're going to add $10,000 a month obligation and only take away a $2,000 a month obligation.
I'm just looking at the juvenile building and the extension office. I'm sorry.
Good question. Thank you.
That is a good question.
Has anybody
Go ahead.
talked
I'm
to
sorry.
the, maybe like the community action agency, how many people have they got going in and out a day in their place?
Actually, the cool thing, when you start looking at the amount of traffic that revenue and probate have, and they're often the same folks that need the community action, because everybody's going to go through probate once a year. Everybody goes through revenue once a year. And I think what you're going to find in community action, their activity is going to go way up. Because instead of them mysteriously finding this place, they're going to where they're already going. It's just another stop while they're there. And the same thing with the county extension. A lot of their programs that they spend a lot of time, energy, and effort advertising, they're going to be able to have their information seen by the county coming through on a monthly basis. So I would imagine their effectiveness is going to go way up. But community action is excited about joining up, or at least that's what she reported.
Okay, any other questions?
Of all of these entities mentioned, any of them renters? Would any of them pay?
Nice.
Would
It'd be
they
nice.
sharing the costs?
Yeah,
It's possible.
I mean,
We
at
certainly.
least within their budget, they need to share in
Yes.
the utilities.
That's the
and
best
in
way
the-
to put it. If you, I mean, you obviously would do that. You would cut out my bills and Jeff's bills, and I think through that process, I think you'll see a little help there.
We'll definitely look at that, so. Rent from occupants.
Okay, any other,
I'm just want to make sure that everybody's, the senior citizens, the traffic going in now. I mean, I've got my dad-in-law, he's 83 years old and he drives every day, but coming in and out over there trying to come back toward Taco Bell from Old Western Citizen Building, you'll sit there forever trying to get out and come back around. Are there any plans for any secondary roads or access roads or anything?
There is a secondary road.
Yeah.
You go around there by, Gino.
What Gino used to be,
Out
come
where
around
the
by
red
the
light
car
is. That's the
wash,
safest way to do
come
it.
out the red light there.
It comes up there,
There's
South
actually,
Harley.
you come from behind the building.
Yeah.
It is.
Larry, we'd have to do Larry Drive through that, come that way, so there's actually
Oh,
three
okay.
ways to
Yeah.
get to that building.
I would say if you involve Aldott in it, they're probably gonna prohibit you from turning left.
Right.
That it would make traffic go that way. And so,
I think too, something you just mentioned there, that's kind of in my, I guess my point, but through this whole thing, again, I'm not advocating either way, but if you get the opportunity to sit at this building and watch those same folks like you talked about, my mama,
Right.
park over here, walk up this sidewalk, walk around this sidewalk,
Or walk over here to this one, you can't get in.
Right.
And
and
then-
if it's drizzling, so you're exactly right, Dan. That's the folks that we need to be, you're exactly right there. That's who we need to be.
I was gonna say, that's the other aspect of our senior citizens and some folks with disabilities who have serious issues of getting up the hill out front or having to park on the back, walk all the way around. And I think we've all seen some of our senior citizens that were struggling with that.
And also the handicap out here at front's on the hill slope.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly right. We have 2 wheelchairs in our office.
Mhm.
And we literally try to get people to call us out, and I go pick them up in a wheelchair and because it's just such a long walk for some folks.
Having walked through and considered the parking lot, there's the opportunity over there to put handicap spaces right in front of the door. People on level ground, they move go into the place with an open lobby and they go right to their kiosk or right to the station where they're getting their service. And so they're in and out. I do think we've had some good questions.
Yep.
I am going to recommend some actions to the committee.
I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, and I don't know if this is appropriate. I've never been accused of being very appropriate much anyway, but I do have 2 things that I'd like for the commission to consider and the committee to consider. It's probably late in the game, but one would be, in addition to moving juvenile court over to the main courthouse, would be also moving my family wellness program here. It's basically the drug court for folks who have lost custody of their children. It's the same as Judge Graham's adult drug court that's run from upstairs, but the possibility of moving, there's 2 of them, moving them here. The second thing would be, and again, this is just to consider at some point, would be rather than selling the juvenile court building, which I don't know what you get for it, I can't imagine it's all that valuable, but renting that to a supervised visitation facility that would be funded through grants and would generate income for the county as opposed to selling the building for whatever you could get for it. And let me say this, I don't have a visitation center right now, and I don't have a grant right now. But at some point in time, I fully intend to.
A visitation center is needed for
his court, my court, Judge Graham's court. I think there's one in DeKalb County, but there's a waiting list to get in to have supervised visitations there.
And so is that something that you're creating like almost like a living room situation where you're able to be in there with them, but they're able to have
Cameras.
right.
No, sir. And that's why juvenile court is set up perfectly for that, because of the various offices that are already set up. Each room, you make them child friendly. You make them warm and inviting, and then that's a place for families, mothers, fathers who do not have visitation with their children, or who don't have custody of their children, excuse me. It's a place for them to come in a safe environment for the children to visit. They're monitored on cameras. Sometimes they're monitored with a supervisor in the room with them early on. But it creates a safe environment. As Judge Benson said, we don't have anything like that. We have been working on that. We thought we had a federal grant for one 2 years ago, and that through. I do believe that we're working on another grant right now through the Casey Foundation that might help with that. I don't know, but that's something that our county needs, and I intend to do it before I leave here. As that building is ideally set up for it has to be a freestanding building.
As you alluded to, there's not going to be a big market for the building, so
It's just something to consider, and like I said, it would have to be, it's funded by a grant, whether that's a state grant or a federal grant. But I do believe, that we could certainly generate possibly some income for the county.
It would pay for the building and the utilities and stuff like that, right? The county's be a landlord.
Right.
Okay. Thanks. With that, several actions that I think that we need to take, and so I'll give you my list and then ask for comment or consideration of others. First was the traffic study that we need to do. If we need to get in touch with ALDOT, the city, and others. I think you should also consider in that necessary signage, particularly as you're establishing a new facility to do work that folks have traditionally come to the courthouse to do, making sure they understand or have at least some signage to guide them. Security, a question there. The need for security, I think a little more assessment of that. Also, the impact on shops. I understand that the city council has their meeting going on tonight, so we don't have Mayor McKinney here to discuss that. But we do need to have a pretty good or a good statement of that. Also, I'd like to consider parking for employees. I understand 125 parking spaces, but one of the things we may need to look at is what would be the benefit of and additional cost of to have a side parking space. I think we do have the grounds area there that we could do that. What would it take? Could we do that internally if we were to do that? Still, there's a cost to it regardless of how we do it. The other is cost. Relook the cost estimate we have, or the repair and upgrade list that we have, what would be necessary. And I would suggest that we don't look at it from being minimalist, but we are comfortable with the facility, so it's very functional and has a lifespan more than a couple of years with what we would do with it. I think the cost estimate for the maintenance and the annual cost for that facility, and that should also include costs for custodial services and other services that you would have to have with the building. Good comment on rent income. That would be helpful. And then Judge Ward's and Judge Benson's questions about the potential for using the juvenile court facility for family wellness and as well as, if I can read my writing here, Judge Word, consider rent to supervised visitation facility. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir. Would be a supervised visitation facility for families.
So I would propose that we determine the time you need to get these answers. We come back to another work session.
Can I make the request that we have it on a special work session, where we can, I mean, we've talked in length that the next one's probably gonna be even more lengthy.
Okay, I would agree with that, and we'll set that up. One of the things you need to consider when you come to the next work session, with something that we're doing of this nature in the county and the city, we will need to have a public hearing regarding this and make sure we get the good word out to the citizens of the county, give them the opportunity to hear
the pros and cons.
And make their comments regarding what we would propose to do before we do anything. I will say that cost will be a significant issue here that we will have to look at, whether we do have the availability of funds regardless of the means of getting funds, and whether or not we are able to cover the cost of this. So that will be very important. Any other comments from?
Advertisement for us moving over there is gonna be something else we need to think about.
Yes.
I don't want a lot of folks showing up here where we need to go. So we need to.
How would that take place? I mean, would you just be down for a week or do it over the weekend or?
We got a lot of hurdles to cross
Yeah.
before we get to transition.
We got questions. Let's just propose that we'll have a special work session. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get more questions on the table.
And if we have to, do it up in the courtroom, and if we have a lot of public attendance.
Okay. Any other comments? You're good. All right. Thanks very much for the update.
Oh, you're welcome, and thanks for the questions and the input. Thank you.
Next on our list is we need to take a look at forming a committee for the establishing a park at the high top area that would become part of our county park system. I would propose that I'll get together with Commissioner Venable. We'll look at establishing membership to a committee and some questions or areas that we need to consider whenever we form the committee that they would report out on. I would propose that we put that committee together and approve it at our next meeting. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I would like to put that committee together and request that Mr. Nance does talk about that, because we want to come up with a plan and phases for that plan and organize whatever we put on that property instead of having a hodgepodge that doesn't flow and doesn't work well together. A lot of ideas been kicked around, but definitely want somebody from the community out there to be involved with it and on the committee.
Okay, any other comment?
No, it sounds great.
So I propose that we establish the committee and the guidelines for the committee and bring that to our new business for our next meeting. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our Director of Public Works. Excuse me. And we have several things to discuss. Ea2 position, roadway stripping list for 2021 and 2022, and local road resurfacing selections for 2022.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. I'll start with the Ea2 Recommendation Letter. Hopefully you find that in your files, dated October 27, 2021. Just generally speaking, we have two of these positions, and both work under the supervision of the Assistant County Engineer. So there's been vacancies that we have worked through these positions, and turnover that we've experienced, and we're on our direction to solidify and bring stability to those positions. So this employee has met all the requirements and is progressing in the advancement. Typically that advancement goes Ea1, 2, and then 3. And there are steps along the way with certifications that must be completed as well as experience. So when they achieve those marks and then come with the recommendation of the Assistant County Engineer, then you see this endorsement by all of us and by me, and for your consideration to this request for the support.
Any questions or comments? So we propose we'll put this on the new business portion of our agenda for our next meeting on the 22nd of November.
Next, as the chairman mentioned, is a striping list. This is taken up each year as we tally up a significant amount of work. Starting at the top, does it come to us by way of citizen request and then been vetted by us after our inspection? And then the bottom part, you will notice, are recently resurfaced roadways that we would be adding the striping to.
Okay, any questions?
Are all these, every one of these up to, I mean, we gotta pick out certain ones, do all of them, or?
Yeah, this is for your consideration to do all of this work.
Okay.
As far as the cost of this, was it budgeted into this year's?
Yes, sir. This would fall under the contract payment section of 111 operating fund.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll start this next one by the attachments that should be in the folder. Each of you will have a district-specific folder, which is a little different this time, but it was in hopes to eliminate your fluff for districts that didn't pertain to you. So in looking at this page that I'm holding up first, this is really just kind of a background on our approach to the number of lane miles that you're seeing presented in the program. And it comes by way of some simple math based on our assets that are out there. So this is from previous discussion, but just as a reminder, in the chip seal pavement section, the 880 miles makes up our largest percentage of road miles that exist within this county. And it's the section that we typically struggle the most on having the funding to make it to a benchmark to where we have a successful rotation and visiting each mile of roadway in a considerable amount of time prior to pavement deterioration. So if we look at those 880 miles and we assign 17.5-year life expectancy, somewhere between 15 and 20 depending on application, then we arrive quickly at a 50 mile per year goal of local road resurfacing and chip sealing. Now some of the pictures you're going to look at tonight in this program are beyond resurfacing. We're in basically a reconstruction stage of no matter which route we go. But this is just for our understanding that 50 miles makes this program work. So we came to you tonight with approximately that many miles, not that the finances will dictate that we can choose that many miles, but for our discussion and for our look to the horizon on what it would take to be, that we feel would be a successful program. Having said that, let's, I guess probably the best thing to do is just delve into the list, and it should be the next thing you find in those packets, okay? So this is subdivided into districts, and the roads are listed worst first, and I'll temper that with, you could really shuffle a lot of these and there wouldn't be a dime's difference, but these remained unchanged from the inspections that were performed and the way they were listed. And these are the way the folks that were working on each part of the districts, this is the way they felt they should be prioritized in worst condition first and then descending in that order. So, District 1, I'll just start there. You'll notice, Mr. Rich, that some of those roadways are shorter in distance. So considerations and factors that go into making this list, really the primary is condition. But roadside density, so, is it rich with development and housing, or is there farm activity, or is it, service one house or two? So those factors weigh in when it came to, figuring out which position they could be in or which roads maybe instead of others. Because as you'll see as you look at these pictures, there are some tough decisions to which one actually is the worst condition-wise. So if you feel certain that there needs to be a change, or we need to make changes, or there's roads on here that you get calls about, the condition's poor, please let's discuss that and let's make those changes. This is just our suggestion on a 50-mile program on what we see that needs to be done now or 2 years ago, really.
Right.
District 2, I need to explain some in that list. Mr. Venable, you'll notice that beyond the third road listed, there's no mileage reported out there, no dollars amount tallied, and the reason is within 3 roads, really we're beyond the allotment that we were looking at per district. So, those roads were identified as poor condition and in need of work, and some of those are really long. So those other options listed, some of those are also long, but that's honorable mentions where others have multiple roads listed and multiple areas of the district that are being touched. You are a little lacking in that, so we listed some other options there of roads that we identified as being poor condition and could use work immediately. Moving down to District 3, same being said, there's no caveats really I need to mention with that, other than if there's something that you know about that we don't have listed, that and have conviction that needs to be on there, let's please talk and make those changes or whatever we need to do. District 4, beyond Mr. McBride, beyond County Road 175, I'm asking for some forgiveness from you for 107 and 307, and the explanation of that is the 107 is from County Road 25 west to the dead end. So that's Fort Mountain area, and that's technically just fairly tiny, small trace amount out of your district. So it's really close to your line. I think you'll find that it follows Mill Creek and then Guest Creek line, and that's just on the mountain above that. But considering condition-wise, and that's all this is about, looking at District 4 and looking at the close proximity to those roads to your district, 107 and 307, we feel, and please look at the pictures, but we feel there's some significant work needed in all these. And, hopefully these pictures are 1,000 words, but they're poor condition. Beyond that, I guess the way I would propose that we approach this is a lot of money that's represented in this resurfacing cost, and it's probably arguable that this is not the best way to represent those costs. And what I mean by that is this is the way we've always represented it, at least as of recent, due to the fact that we're talking about equipment and material costs. There is another component of that, which is better represented in this sheet. You'll notice that a large difference in cost per mile on this sheet versus the tallied sheet by district, okay? Reason being is this includes material costs. This price includes equipment and labor costs, okay? This has to be paid to a contractor. This comes from Fund 100 within us. So if we're talking about a reasonable amount similar to what we've been able to do in the 10-mile range per year, if we look at that, or if it's around double, then by the time this is performed and we're able to turn this around, we don't feel like there's any implications as far as being able to handle that financially from the material side. We obviously have to figure out this other side. But if we get beyond 25 miles, then we need to sort out the material cost also, as well as this 1.75 is represented on this sheet. Does that make sense?
And also too, the cost of materials going up every day on everything, you know, that can hurt us too.
So our recommendation as far as an approach on this, it's a lot of information just picking the roads and selecting all that. But as we've done before, I would recommend that we figure out a comfortable spot that we're at on how robust we want this program to be. We all know that 50 miles would be great, but I would suggest we start with a financial obligation that we're comfortable with, that we feel like that we can obligate to this, and then back into that with how many miles we can select and approach it that way. So I have with me cash balances for the funds that would be fair game for this, and I'll distribute those now.
Thank you.
So just looking at the 100 fund, that would be where the material price comes from. There are other obligations that fund has to service. So there's 600,000 basically that's budgeted annually for materials. And so when I make mention of 10 miles, that's pretty standard of what we've been doing in recent years. And so our budget will absorb that basically over the time it takes to perform that work. If it's doubled, then the cash balance that exists there would obviously have to be tapped into. But we feel like considering a healthy reserve, doubling that would also be fine. 111 is what would fund the equipment and labor portion, so that 1.75. You know, anything excess of what we do standard, then we would need to factor in the component of that and figure out a way to supplement as we did last season with general fund or some other fund that exists on the sheet. We have obligations from 111 that would also need to factor into that from our aspect, and that's you know, we have County Road 189 that's scheduled to be underway soon. We have the geotech for 93 and 38 that's out there right now. That's potentially a 6-figure expense. And then we still have 2021 local roads in process. So there's approximately 165,000 of that remaining on our part. And just as a reminder, the general fund was voted last time to supplement in excess of 350,000 from the general fund. So north of 400,000, 420 or so could be expected to come from the general fund to supplement last year's local road program. Beyond that, it's having a healthy reserve, and I'll mention this as well. At Fund 100, we're with our equipment and fleet rotation, there is sometimes a gap there from when we purchase to when we sell that we have to bridge. And haven't seen any prices, but we've been told that we could expect a 40% increase in trucks this next year. So if there's a gap there on, you know, we're talking near $1 million range when we rotate trucks and sell. Okay, so if there's a time span there to breach that. We've been successful, but things are crazy now on availability. So I just mentioned that because if there's a gap there, that this could come into play depending on how aggressive we are on performing this. That's a lot of information. I'm sorry about that, but I don't know how else to get into the nuts and bolts of this other than just to dive in. So I'm sure you have questions, and I'll be happy to get into those.
Okay, any questions? The schedule for, that you need for us to have taken a look at this and bring this back to the agenda?
There's really no rush. We're halfway through last year's cycle. So what this does is prioritize for us what you and the people want done. So this gives us direction on what to go to next. We have one road remaining in District 1 to work on. We have District 3 to work on. We have District 4 still to be done. So that's a lot of work that will take place hopefully over the course of the winter, and hopefully by spring we'll be ready for the surface to be applied to those. But beyond that, this is the work that we're talking about. So whenever there's comfort there, no rush, but it helps us having this direction and knowing the priorities.
Okay, thank you. Next on the our work session agenda is the added item for today, and that is discuss the proclamation of making November the 16th, 2021 as Retired Teachers Day in Jackson County. In your packet is a proposed resolution that we've been asked to approve and sign, and to present this at a meeting of retired teachers on November 16th, 2021.
I find it ironic that Commissioner McBride has recently retired.
Well,
We're declaring this.
Okay, given that it is November the 16th that they're requesting that we would present a resolution, and this is in our work session, we would need a motion to set aside the rules to vote on the resolution. So do I have a motion to set aside the rules to vote on the resolution proclaiming November 16th, 2021 as Retired Teachers Day?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye. Motion carries. So with that, do I have a motion to approve the resolution proclaiming November 16th, 2021 as Retired Teachers Day in Jackson County?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion.
And
a
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Proclamation we will sign declaring the 16th as Retired Teachers Day. The last item on our work session, discussion item. So at this time, let's go to our reports from the staff, the county administrator.
Thank you.
County engineer, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. County attorney.
Just a brief comment, if you don't mind. You've been looking at 2 donations to private entities, and you passed both of those tonight, Liberty Learning and the Tennessee Riverline, which are entirely appropriate. But I just remind you about donating public funds to private entities. And I think these 2 were vetted plenty enough to know that these 2, Liberty Learning and Tennessee Riverline, both promote public purposes. And so as you look at other donations to private entities, just keep that in mind, that it is okay to donate public funds to private entities so long as you also determine that it promotes a public purpose for the general citizens of Jackson County. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for reminding of that. Any others, County Park? Maintenance?
Nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll move to comments from commissioners. District 4, Commissioner McBride.
I want to say thank you to all who served on the committee. There's a lot of work that went into that. Hats off to you guys, AJ especially. I mean, you headed this thing, and I want to say thank you for the time you put in. And I'm excited about taking a closer look at what we can do there, and hopefully answering any questions that might arise and make an informed decision. They'll do what's best for our county. You know, stay safe.
District 3, Commissioner Buckler.
Yeah, I want to welcome Commissioner McBride back to America. Glad to have you back, brother. And just glad to be here. Nothing else.
District 2, Commissioner Venable.
I don't have anything to add to that, Mr. Chairman.
District 1, Commissioner Rich.
Well, let's see, how many minutes do I have?
You're out of time. You're out of time.
My time's up. I don't have anything. Everybody stay safe.
My only comment is I would like to say thank you to the commissioners for what they did in working to establish the CDBG grant that we were approved, $500,000. Most recently, we've been in the process of distributing checks to small businesses that were accepted to and approved to receive those grants. I can only tell you the number of times that people have walked in the office and said, thank goodness for this, because we were on our last straw. And so my hat's off to you guys and having done that back in November and December to get that work done. With that, our next meeting date is November the 22nd, 2021. And do I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
I'll make a motion with adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, second?
I'll second it.
All right. I'm trying to move fast. All right. All in favor, say aye.